Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another update. Um, in the time since I posted the last video, I was able to get a few more features added, and I'd like to showcase those for you. Um, I guess the short list for those is I've got message boxes, a new global debug flag that applications can check out, and if debug's turned on, they can do other things like emit more debug over the COM port or possibly alter their behavior in some way, which I'll show that in a minute. Um, I also have enabled the C menu. It's like the Commodore C in the upper left, which is analogous to like the Apple menu on a Mac for bringing up preferences and control panels type stuff. Um, and I have weight cursors enabled, and piggybacked on the preferences panel is the palette tool, so you can edit the colors, and we'll discuss that in a minute. Also, I'm going to throw in an OS API concept, I guess, to cover it, and so we'll do those a little bit at a time, and so it won't make it such a big task later to go over things. So let's take a look. So let's take a look at the C menu. Um, what this will be is, like I said, it's analogous to like the Apple on a Mac. So here's where all the control panel type stuff would be. Right now, I just have a mock-up for preferences, and probably this would fall underneath there. But right now, I just have the palette tool by itself. So open that up, and you can see it's going to show all the colors of the palette. And what this will eventually let you do is edit those. So let's take a look at that. So if I, pick a color, it highlights it over here and then shows you a swatch over here. And this is the index. Now this empty area eventually will be some sliders for the RGB value, so you can edit it and then save it back in the palette. But currently I can't read the uh, the values out of that memory yet, and Stephanie's going to have an update to allow that to happen. So I'll add the sliders, but they're all going to have to start at 0, and you'll have to uh, mix the colors by hand initially. So you can see here. So you can go around and choose colors. And I don't know if you noticed when I opened it up, you got the weight cursor. I'm going to move it, and we'll get it again. You'll see there it's waiting and it's done. Okay, and what that's doing is it's recalculating, since we moved the window, the hit list for where these different colors are on the screen. So uh, as you can see there, anyway, that works pretty well. Um, Also, as I mentioned, there's the debug flag, which I will turn it on with this menu, which is OS debugging. So I'm going to flip the switch on that, and if you can see now it's got an asterisk next to it. So now with that turned on, I have the palette tool set up so that if debug is on, it updates the color as you move the mouse rather than just on selection. So you can see it is, it the swatch now just follows the mouse regardless of uh, what is selected. So I can still select, and it'll put it over there, but if I move the mouse, it just shows you the color. And I just did that as, I wouldn't leave it like that. But for illustrative purposes, if I wanted to see if my mouse was functioning properly with this debug flag on, you can see that, yeah, when it does go over there, I am detecting that the color changed and updating. So I can go back up here and shut it off. And now if I go back down here, you can see the behavior has changed back to the way that it was. Uh, Additionally, as I mentioned, there's pop-up boxes, which is, like a little dialogue like Windows has. Um, Currently, I only have two styles for that, which is a warning box and a stop box. So we'll do the warning box. So here it's obviously you can just give it whatever text you want. Here I just have it says warn about something, and that pops up. And if you close it, it goes away as it should. And then the stop, you know, stop, don't do it. So that's just two styles. I intend to implement more, but right now those are the two that you've got. Um, so that pretty much covers the features that were added. Um, and I would like to show you some of the code for how a lot of this is built. It's built on a principle called a node list, which is just it's an it's an operating system provided linked list system, and I use it extensively in uh, inside the OS. So let's take a look at that. Um, I'll show you the list of the functions in just a second, but within the palette tool, like I said, as you go across and hover over those colors, it changes. Well, how that works is you have to implement some kind of a hit list where the mouse matches some region, a rectangular region of some kind, and that's done utilizing the operating system provided node list. So when the window's opened, um, it will allocate a node list here. Um, and the node lists in the system have names um, just to keep track of what's going on and for debugging purposes. When you allocate the node list, though, a nice feature about it is that you give it a callback function for the deallocation. So if I add things to this list, I can ad hoc remove them, or I can just get rid of the whole list, and all the members of the list will have this function um, called. So whatever kind of list you have, you can provide the cleanup for the objects that you're putting in it. So in this case, you can see from this pop-up, this is just has rectangles in it. So that's a structure, X, Y, width, and height. Um, and what it's going to do is it just deallocates the memory of that rectangle. So there's nothing fancy about it, or but it allows you to just say this is how I want to dispose of something, and then the node list itself takes care of the rest for you. So, like I said, as you remove nodes or get rid of the whole list, as long as you go through the library of functions provided for node lists, it does all the cleanup stuff for you. And then another interesting, useful feature is the node list can be iterated in a similar fashion. So when I want to check to see if it was hit. So here's my mouse move. So you saw that move. It was pretty seamless as you're moving around. It changed the colors. Um, and how that works is you just have to have it run through the linked list of rectangles and see if the point of the mouse is actually in there. And the node list has a feature of for each until. So it will iterate through the linked list using an evaluation function that you provide as well um, until the hit returns true. And then in that case, the node that it's on is returned. So here it's going to iterate, find the node, and then it'll return it, which then you get the data out of it, and that's the actual rectangle you're interested in. And as you can see, here is the is OS debug. So if that's true, which I showed you when I turned it on from the menu, it's going to update that as the hover goes, and so that's where it's getting the position from, and it's finding the hit of the mouse with this. So when it iterates, I'm calling this function that I provided, which is for each colors. And I can go look at that, and it's a pretty simplistic thing, but it keeps me from having to write code like this all over the place. I just provide what I want to look for, and the iteration is built in, and I don't have to duplicate that code all over the place. And so it's kind of a standard way of doing it, and a standard place to fix bugs in the nodes lists themselves. Um, so in this case, uh, it gets a point. That's the context information that I provide, and then the data is the actual value inside the node. So it's going to just check to see if it's inside that rectangle. If it is, it returns true. Otherwise, it skips it. And like I said, when it sees true, it's going to return that node, and then I can update the screen. So let's take a quick look. I did this on a Notepad++ to just make it a little bit bigger so you can see. So the node list has simple linked lists, which is just things of FX node, as well as things that are more complicated, which is what I was just showing you, which is an actual node list pointer itself, which is that. But these are the kind of functions, and then built on top of that, I have queues. So there is you know, this is how the message queues actually work for all of the messages in the system. There's an N queue and a D queue, um, and that is how things are added to the operating system queue for things to do. There's another version, which is the one that locks, which disables interrupts while it's doing it. And then I provided a way to just dump out a list, which is you can debug a queue, um, so you can see what's in it, obviously. And then here there's a just kind of a wide variety of things that you can do with the node list. And like I said, rather than implement this all over the place and redo a linked list all over the place, it just gives you an OS provided way to do it. So you initialize one, and you can create, um, copy and add to the head. You can remove all kinds of different things. You can get the last, um, and you can do some searches, and that's down here. So you can search by, when you put a node in, you can give it a name or a type, and they can be unique. So like in this case, there's some functionality where you can find the caption on a window, pick that window. This is what's underneath it. So it searches by name, finds the window by name, and returns it out of the list, out of the node list. And like I showed before, here is the for each family of functions, which do different things. So it's like if it finds it, it removes it, or does until something like I was showing, or returns the first type that it finds, like that. So so there's a wide variety of things, and it just makes it simpler to be able to do that, having them provided with all this functionality. And so as I need something, I may expand this. Um, right now, it's been stable for quite some time, but I just thought I'd show that that's one of the founding principles of the whole system, is these node lists. So I thought I would highlight them this time. Probably in the next video, I will be going over the WDC compiler as I use it, the whole build chain for them. It's a little quirky, but it works fine. As you can see, I'm able to use it now that I figured out what I need to do with it. And I'll go over my make batch file and how my environment is set up, and spend some time doing that, so people who want to use it to develop may do so. So I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you in the next video.